And today we're continuing our new reading series with what's come up with our characters in the novel, and hopefully y'all are catching on and following along by now. We're at part five, not of the novel. That's part five of the reading series, and today we're just gonna we're gonna start chapter two. So the previous four videos have pretty much encompass the idea of chapter one. I think the first couple of early videos I didn't really get into how the novel is gonna begin, but we'll save that for when it. I mean, I did get into that, but like I spoke about how the neighbor was shouting a bunch of like prophecies and poetry, and we start to introduce the artist who is in his apartment room, in his studio apartment, looking out of his window, and he's kind of hearing what the guy next door is yelling about the death of his daughter, and he's remembering things that have gone on in the apartment, and and then where we left off in the last one at the end of chapter one, we'll just briefly get into this real quick. At the end of chapter one, we talked about how he's kind of shifting his art. He's not sure if he believes in his paintings anymore, and he's shifted towards writing, and maybe there's this voice in the back of his head who's like seeping onto the page, and that's what we're listening to a little bit of. Um, R.A., the character in the novel, showed up in the end of chapter one. She grabbed a few paintings and is bringing them down to the art show to set up. Um, and so that's a character that's kind of like he might mention throughout the novel. We'll see where we're going with that. And at the end of the first chapter, um, yeah, he kind of described a little bit of just getting ready for his day, and yeah, kind of wrestling with the human condition, and that's what his artwork is starting to become. All right, that was the end of chapter one. So we'll get right into it. Haven't seen anybody jump on yet. We're 2.5 minutes in. I hate taking too long at the beginning before I start reading. Here we go. Chapter 2 of The Flower Maker by Brent Noury. And I'm Brent Noury, by the way. In case I haven't properly introduced myself to everyone, I'm Brent Noury, and reading from my new novel. If you're listening, if you're following along, we're doing this kind of day by day or as the stuff comes to me. And you can follow along with this novel like they used to do back in the day in the, I don't know what they call it, 19th century. And you're going to get like a series along the way. So you'll kind of have a chance each day to grasp, a few pages of it as we go along. And then eventually, it'll be a complete work. So anyways, chapter 2 of The Flower Maker by Brent Noury. His first mission of the day was to get coffee and cigarettes. The former obvious, the latter only occurred to him as he stubbed his last out on the concrete steps of his grand old apartment building, which once had been a schoolhouse about 150 years prior. The morning bustle was ensuing, people having already headed off to their places of employment. R.A. had a good gig. She rarely had to go into work, and the occasional business trip, keeping track of sales of shipping and whatnot. He, on the other hand, had also worked not to work, at times having jobs which gained some comfortable amount of room for expenditures, but now was determined to work just through ride sharing and contract deliveries to enjoy as much free time and contemplation as he desired. This, of course, became quite a problem whenever expected or unexpected bills came in. That said, he had as much free time as a rich man, and in fact, more. There was a sense of jealousy or confusion, even maybe despising the fact that Bryce always seems to be able to do whatever he wants. He didn't like to think on that too much, that people might think less of him, having no true accomplishments or career prospects. other than those which were now invisible cards of a shattered past home, spread in a barren wasteland. Those people saw the wasteland. He saw a beautiful field of never-ending ideas, springing imagination. A lot of his friends had kindly pointed out perhaps there was some form of help in the form of evaluation and shrinking of the mind he could seek out. Though his closest friends, deep down, he truly believed they knew his good intentions. He wasn't all mad with his ideas and politics. After all, many Republicans had accidentally accused him of being a libertarian. No, he would say in jest, I believe in a type of honest government. And his Marxist friends would accuse him of being a Trotskyist or even a basic liberal. The vanguard is not for me, but neither is rent-seeking behavior or elite overproduction. Just then, oh little what's-her-name, the middle of the three daughters of the podiatrist divorcee, who lived in the old Telge building, an old law office on the other side of the stone chapel, just east, came up the street with her newest robotic invention. She was a science fair type kid, destined for MIT or something of the sort. The artist had engaged in quite a discussion a few years back with Dr. Sosa. He had walked by the old Telge building and seen Dr. Sosa sitting on the old stone bench off the side patio within the garden. Over the iron fence, the artist had spotted the source of the doctor's mumbling, a crossword puzzle in his hands. Knowing the doctor to be some form of doctor from mumblings in the building, he quickly shouted, "The answer is bipeds." With a grin, he awaited response. "No, in fact, it's something more legs, I'm afraid." "Ah, the slayer of the dragon Fafnir, and whose father was Sigmund." "Siegfried?" "Yes, that's what I put, and it's right. But now the rest is ruined." Lauren. That's her name, he thought. "Good morning, Lauren." "Look out!" she exclaimed, as she trudged past with the three-wheeled robot, as if on to conquer the planet of humans. She had a sense with her, like a lot of smart children, or people, that they better watch where they're going, or they'll get caught up in their own ideas and inventions. He saw something of that in himself, though he had never been the smart kid in class. He had been more of a clown or wise-ass. He did look to what the best students were reading about, and he did listen and converse well with what the band members were discussing. And the cute girls were into the jocks, which is where he belonged, he supposed. But it was dull there. Sports were only interesting if he could change the world through them. And by the time smoking weed and cutting class became an everyday option, the prodigy baseball career was over. So young it seemed looking back now. Nothing is over at 19. But that's when art set its sights again on the muse. She'd secretly been coming to him in colors and dreams, and hints of important memories. Now she was here to stay, always on the surface and in sight. She was like a light that you can't quite see, pointing in a direction you don't quite know, but have some interest. She's not quite in the Freudian sense of things, like ego and whatnot. These things bowed before her in her reign supreme. Another world where maybe even Gabriel was under her command. The realest connection to the monad, the most pure, the most truthful, in the sense of the word. Perhaps God in drag, he thought. When he wants to show off, like, isn't the message getting through. I'm trying to play nice. I like poems too. Ah, yes, he thought, that other place. Too complex to define and drives those mad who try to. So carry on with one's day. Observe Aristotelian things of outside wonder in the physical realm. Don't pay too much attention. Don't pay too much attention to what's going on inside my head. It's too early for that. Stick to the regiment plan and get to the corner gas station for a morning joe and cigarettes. Then we can begin the contemplation of the mess around us. I tried to describe it to R.A. once, the feeling of encountering the muse. But such was folly. She was practical, R.A., pragmatic and sensory. Those deeper searches seemed a bit fluffy, not unlike Socrates in the clouds. Though R.A. wouldn't get the reference, R.A. thought seeing films was a waste of time, could be better spent. They weren't that good, after all. But if enough acclaim was levied in on a large project in the art world to where any decent, intelligent young woman of some self-discovery and worldliness should show some attention as to stay up to date on the regular fashions, R.A. would be in attendance. R.A. was 9 years older than the artist, and so their friendship had always held some level of experience reflected on the youth. They'd met when he was 24 and ended intimacy in his 30th year. His father had recently perished, and his sister soon to follow a few months later. In his mind, that early life was exactly that. Split. Another life. And in his second life, the ideas started to take on a life of their own, and he found joy in noticing himself doing that, noticing his own humanity, his own being, himself wrapped in himself with bigger ideas such as, how does this fit in? And if it doesn't, does that mean that it does? And if you could see reality, the world would be a swirling madness, not fit for human consumption. Then he'd take a deep breath and realize he's back dealing with life as it happens, which might actually be much more enjoyable. But now, in this latter period, he held on to moments like precious. They were jewels, and the artist liked collecting these gems, not to keep, but to share. But the treasure was invisible. You had to believe in it. It was so hard to get others to believe in the missing treasure. It was everywhere, he would proclaim. It's a ghost. It lives between infinity. It holds infinity. And it is sad because it itself doesn't know it exists. This type of philosophy started to infect his work, a connection to the divine through truth in art. But that led him to some strange thoughts, such as, when was lightning striking? And how much effort to divert to each of the many projects being juggled in the ether of his mind. Like a carousel, they would take their turn as first vignette, and then, if percolation suited, a piece would be carefully crafted to the menagerie. Quite often, involuntarily, the idea would emerge, and it would fit this puzzle almost in a natural sense. How could it be any other to him? This latest vision, which previously discussed, was forming itself like all the others, only newer, and who knows what that meant. Other than, it was taking hold and building a portion of his inner sight. There was something about the mad scientist developing a flower more beautiful than God's, and the beekeeper who finds the greenhouse, and meets the mistress, and a hidden place emerges. He thought about something for a moment, but then it disappeared as he thought about something else. He had a tendency to do that, forget what had just been, and then remember he was on to something. And maybe, sometimes, he could switch back to that thought if he caught a thread. Like, for instance, this idea came rushing back as he saw a fat man climb out of his car and head into the gas station ahead on the corner. It was a fat man, not unlike the comic Hollywood type that would be cast in a main role. A bumbling idiot of an indigenous tribe would be mistaken by conquerors as the leader of the tribe due to a mistaken identity of him seemingly being the healthiest and most well-fed of the bunch. The tribe would then be forced to adopt the fat buffoon as chief, and perhaps a whole new religion would ensue for the nation. But then he thought, he's not really funny enough to tell that tale proper. All of his jokes spring from irony and the fallout. All right, folks, that's where we're at today. 16 minutes in. Just want to say hi to everyone that showed up in the chat, everyone that liked. Let's see, we got Lexi. Hello. We got Sunny. Hello. We got Relatable, Tings, Milo, and Chip. Thanks, y'all, for joining. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. Hope you all like and subscribe if you liked what you were seeing. This is going to be a daily thing where I recite whatever kind of starts building in this novel, The Flower Maker. I think that's what we're going with right now. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.